Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new video. It's been a while since I've posted here on YouTube. I've been incredibly busy for the past month, a little over a month actually. I was in California helping a loved one with some personal stuff. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to drag my personal life into this too much, but I have been busy, but I'm back. I have, however, been posting a lot on Patreon. Regardless of my schedule, I do my best to post a minimum of 2 hours of content on my Patreon page a month, and I have indeed been doing that. I've been posting a lot on my Patreon. So if there are dry spells, ladies and gentlemen, and you're wondering where I am and you still want access to new videos, please consider checking out my Patreon page. Links are in the description box below. And for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of private bonus video material that you will never find here on the YouTube channel, where I talk about, certain protocols for detox that I do. I talk more about addiction. I talk about things like Gnosticism and Kundalini and elevating the consciousness, breathing exercises. The list goes on and on and on. The Patreon page is pretty much an expansion pack, if you will, for my YouTube channel. So I just wanted to throw that out there and plug that at the beginning and get it over with, that I do post a lot of content on my Patreon page, and the money that goes into my Patreon page helps pay the bills, helps keep the lights on, helps put food on my table, and your contributions are very, very much so appreciated. So I thank you guys for that, and I thank you all for watching my videos. I couldn't do this without you. This channel has been built over the past 2 years with your support and your views and your comments, your suggestions, your likes, you networking my videos around. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. So let's get right into this video, and I want to touch upon a handful of different things because I've been gone for over a month. So we'll do kind of a random rant of sorts, I think. Let me see if I can get the lighting a little bit better. But I want to begin by stressing in regards to the importance of you working out your addictions. A lot of people find my channel and a lot of people contact me once they find my content talking about water and food and all this other stuff. And a lot of people will contact me and say, hey, I'm an addict. I drink a lot of alcohol. I smoke cigarettes, but I really want to approach health. What can I do? Should I start incorporating certain foods into my diet? Should I start taking specific herbs? What would be the best plan of action, what would be the best plan of action, And over the years, I've realized that the greatest thing that you can do for your health, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest starting point at least, is to manage all of your addictions and to get them all worked out. This will empower you on every level. This will empower your mind. It'll empower your spiritual life. It'll empower your physical body. You will feel the vigor. You will feel strength come back to you when you get your addictions worked out. Now, most people have had certain addictions for years that they've wanted to get rid of, whether it be an addiction to staying up too late, an addiction to smoking cigarettes, an addiction to drinking alcohol. And if you continue to put those on the back burner and try to focus on other things in regards to your health without addressing that completely, it kind of creates a imbalance of sorts, and you'll always have that addiction and the lack of you getting rid of it on the back burner kind of just ruining your life, ruining your mental stability, ruining just the forward trajectory with your health. So addictions are the greatest way to start, ladies and gentlemen, and if you don't have addictions, that's great as well. And in that regard, I would suggest you focus on clean water and just eat real food. I'm not going to get on here and tell you a specific way to eat because everybody's different and everybody digests things differently. Some people can't digest certain foods like rice and other people can. So some people do best on more of a low carbohydrate diet and some people do best on a high carbohydrate diet. It's all based on context and personal experimentation and the position that you're currently in right now with your levels of stress and where your emotions are. You can have a healthy person undergo a lot of stress and suddenly there's so much energy in their solar plexus level or region of their body from the stress and maybe anxiety that their digestion is pretty much shut off and their digestion becomes really sluggish. So addictions and emotions, getting your mind right. And one of the greatest ways to do that is begin by your addictions. And chances are, if you're watching this, you have an addiction. Not all addictions are substance related. Some addictions are, things again like staying up too late. Anything that takes you out of balance that you do habitually and that you shouldn't be doing, we can consider a negative addiction. And it's all about just transmuting those addictions. Transmutation is kind of an alchemical term for taking one thing that's often kind of in a lesser crude state and turning it into something beneficial. So you can take something negative and turn it into something positive, and you do that through your willpower. You do that through your intent, and you do that through your actions. So if you have a smoking problem, it's time to quit smoking. If you have a drinking problem, it's time to quit drinking. If you care about your health, you will do what's right. And there's no more time left to waste time, ladies and gentlemen. The world is in a crazy state. The world needs more people who are capable of banishing the things that are destroying their health so that we can actually raise other people's health up. We can help other people see the value in taking care of their health. The world needs more illuminators, ladies and gentlemen. People who want to help other people lift themselves up, and you're not going to be able to get to that point until you balance your own life. Otherwise, if you try to help other people achieve balance when you're imbalanced, it'll lead to a siphoning of your energy, and you will end up draining yourself, folks. You need to reinvigorate your body, your mind, and your spirit with health and with strength, and you do that by being the best version of yourself possible. And that's a version of yourself that isn't hindered and held back by cigarette smoke, the choking smoke of cigarettes. That's cigarette smoke, just to kind of dovetail this in, or kind of just, I want to just rant about cigarettes really quick. When I quit smoking cigarettes, there was about a month and a half to 2 month period where I had severe constipation. And every fiber of my program addicted mind wanted me to find a logical reason to go back to smoking cigarettes so that I could, have a bowel movement. I went through such anxiety when I quit smoking cigarettes, and my memory became horrible and whatnot, that, again, the logical thing to the mind at that point is, hey, you're not able to deal with reality right now. You're not able to even remember things. You've read the same paragraph 6 times and you can't recall it. Get that cigarette out. It'll make it a lot easier. You'll be able to go right back to your old self. The mind will trick itself, ladies and gentlemen. And that's because we were never taught mental mastery. We were never taught how to control the direction of our thoughts and our minds and our beliefs when we were young. So now we are in a culture of adults who were taught basic rudimentary education, but never how to control their own mind, never how to control the functioning of their own breathing. We were never taught how to illuminate our consciousness through certain, yogic. We were never taught what was truly important when we were younger. And because of that, we've erected a lot of bogus beliefs that still operate unconsciously as adults. So when you're trying to get off of smoking cigarettes, for instance, that part of you that was never taught mental mastery will just try to trick you. The programmed mind will always try to trick you. You'll have feelings come over you and things that will kind of try to gear you towards going back to your old ways because it'll make life in the moment easier. I hope that makes sense. Now, the reason why I brought up the whole childhood programming thing and the lack of mental mastery is that if you were truly taught mental mastery at a young age, you would never have put that cigarette in your mouth now, would you? We live in a world of bad health, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a world where our minds have been programmed and we don't have control over them. Whether you believe that or not, you may have control over some of your mind, but you sure as hell don't have control over all of your mind, and you are a fool for thinking so. It's only through the realization that we don't have full control over our mind and that we do make bad decisions, and that, what the hell, coming to that kind of realization, one of the kind of a holy crap, what am I doing realization, only then, when we realize how bad things have gotten and how little control we're exerting over our lives, can we reach rock bottom and formulate a plan. Only then will you see the value in taking control of your life. When you realize that you're destroying your health, or, and most Americans are, it doesn't matter if it's regarding cigarettes, excessive carbohydrate consumption, excessive processed goods, bad television. I'm not even going to get into some of the more intricate levels of ways that people destroy their health, because I don't want to say certain things that can potentially get me kicked off of here, but the system is deep, the game is deep, ladies and gentlemen. We are a species that was designed to be enlightened. We were designed to basically walk around this physical world in a state of consciousness in physiological enlightenment where there were no limitations. There were, through the Kundalini energy, spirit was tethered completely into our physical bodies, and we basically were God, and we could achieve anything. We were designed to experience reality inside of our Merkaba. We were designed to be able to see all the energy fields around the human body, but they've turned all of that off, and we've nourished that lack of self-expansion and enlightenment through our own actions. So, again, this message is not for everyone. This channel sure as hell is not for everyone. Only certain people are going to be able to vibe and resonate with this message, and that's just the way it is. But, in my early 20s, I experienced Kundalini on a handful of occasions, and one of the main things that I took away from those experiences was that we had been turned into a slave species, and then we had actually been turned into an energy source for a group of entities known as the Archons. And I'm not going to go into detail about this in this video. I'm going to lightly bring it up, ladies and gentlemen, because I talk about this heavily on my Patreon page. Certain things I go into much greater detail in regards to on my Patreon page. I just released an hour and 20-minute lecture on the Archons, what they are, what the Great Archon is, these entities that suck our energy and that have turned the earth into a energy farm, ladies and gentlemen. We have all of these very intricate and intimate aspects of our bodies, these energy fields known as subtle organizing energy fields, our aura, our auric template, our causal body, our astral body, our Merkaba, all of these things that surround our physical body that we can no longer see anymore because our hippocampus and our pituitary and pineal gland, all of these regions of our brain have been basically turned off due to never really... The food, it plays an effect on the lack of stimulation of these very sacred parts of our physical body, but so does the lack of learning how to stimulate them. We were, again, like I said earlier, we were never taught mental mastery at a young age. We were never taught visualizations and breathing techniques to stimulate these regions of our brain, our body, our liver, you name it, that when these regions are turned on, you experience enlightenment. We were never taught that, but we have these energy fields around us, ladies and gentlemen, constantly. And in a state of enlightenment, you can actually see them and communicate with them. In fact, to be honest, the enlightenment experience is largely you just becoming aware again of these energy fields to the point where you can see them and communicate with them. Enlightenment is you being able to see into the fourth and fifth dimensional overtones through the activation and arousal of Kundalini energy. The Kundalini energy stimulates all these dormant regions of your physiology that once stimulated and aroused and turned on again, you can now see the truth. Enlightenment is merely the body and the mind becoming its full potential through the entire physical makeup being completely turned on. I hope that makes sense. But where was I going from that? Basically, these archons, folks, and this is heavily talked about in a religious outlook known as Gnosticism, and I consider myself a Gnostic. But the Gnostics, the Gnostic Christians, etc., and there's multiple different sects, not sects, but sects, S-E-C-T. There's multiple different groups and off-branches of Gnosticism, but within Gnosticism, there's a relatively agreed-upon viewpoint of the world that the physical world is evil, and that there are groups of negative entities that are manipulating the growth of human consciousness. And that these entities want to control us and farm us for our energy. So, again, I talk about this more in Patreon, on my Patreon page. I suggest books on my Patreon page about Gnosticism. But essentially, Gnosis, what Gnosis is, ladies and gentlemen, is direct understanding of the truth through enlightenment. That's my personal definition of Gnosis. Many people will say that Gnosis, which is the foundation of Gnosticism, but many people will say that Gnosis is just knowledge, oftentimes just occult knowledge. Well, what is occult knowledge? The most profound form of occult knowledge is the enlightenment experience. And when you experience enlightenment, you download information through the enlightenment experience that far supersedes anything that you could ever find in a book. You experience the merging of spirit with flesh, with your flesh. You experience the merging of the true living God, the hidden God, becoming awakened within your physical and mental bodies. The Kundalini does this. The serpent energy, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of Gnosticism, of Gnosis. That is why this channel is, why do you think my channel is called Sacred Serpent? It's because the serpent energy is indeed sacred, ladies and gentlemen. It is the foundation, whether you like to believe it or not, of most religions. It is the foundation of the story of the Holy Grail, the serpent. It is the foundation of the secrets of Solomon's temple, which is just a metaphor for the human body. Oh man, we have been lied to, and we've been sold a bill of goods, and we've been tricked and hoodwinked, and we've had beliefs established that keep us from understanding the truth. And on top of that, we have multiple addictions, which is, I started off on addictions, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm having an ADHD moment. So let me get back into discussing addictions. But, one of the foundational motifs, if you will, or the foundational undercurrents of the philosophical, or one of the main things that I try to educate people on here on this channel is that we were designed to experience and be much more than what we currently are experiencing and what we currently are. And it's just the truth. Whether people like to believe it or not, it's the truth. We have the ability to become so much greater. We have the ability to completely heal this ecosphere that we live in and unlock the secrets of nature and become demigods, ladies and gentlemen. We have the ability to turn this earth realm into Atlantis, basically, again, and experience the freedom of life. Life was never designed to have all this chaos, and the amount of chaos here in this world and negative energy is extensive. And the great Archon, also known as the Demiurge by the Gnostics, or Cosmic Crater, or Adaldabaoth, has set up this world to be an energy farm. There's a lot of negative energy here in this world because that's what this entity and this group of entities feeds off of. You may be wondering, why would an entity want to feed on negative energy? Isn't negative energy unhealthy? Well, from an alchemical perspective, ladies and gentlemen, the alchemist, when he sees energy, he or she, there is no good and bad energy. Energy is just energy. Now, however, oftentimes negative energy is imbued with a lot of emotion. When you're stressed or when you're angry with someone, you start shooting out energy from your physical body and from your non-physical body, your subtle organizing energy fields, out into the energetic world around you, which there's certain things I want to get into, but I'm not. But basically, the alchemist, when he or she views the world, he doesn't just see a world of objects, he sees a world of energy. Everything is indeed energy. All matter is energy condensed into different vibrations and resonances, you name it. And when you experience energy, whether it's good or bad, ladies and gentlemen, unless you learn how to contain that energy that you're emanating, you shoot it out like solar flares into the energetic sea around you, and it gets absorbed by that particular field, which is controlled by the Archon. Why do you think that the world is in the state it is? Because this is heaven? No. This world is hell, and most Gnostics would agree with me on that this world is indeed hell. But we can, through Gnosis, which is, again, enlightenment, we can achieve states of consciousness and physical health, emotional health, where we merge heaven consciousness, or the true God, we merge that into our bodies, and this world becomes heaven. Heaven is indeed a state of consciousness. And when enough people experience this, the collective consciousness of humanity is swayed toward a particular direction, and the reformatting of the physical world is initiated. I hope that makes sense. By one person experiencing true enlightenment, the entire collective consciousness benefits from that, and it starts leaning towards a particular direction. The great Archon, Cosmic Crater, Adaldabaoth, whatever you want to call it, wants to suppress Kundalini, Christ consciousness, the serpent energy, from evolving within our genome. Because it's through that energy that we escape the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think that movie, The Matrix, was about? It was about a man named Neo that was asleep and plugged in to a simulated world, which the Gnostics believe we live in a piece of bad simulation, bad software essentially. And a man named a man named Morpheus, which is Morpheus to a large extent is Lucifer, ladies and gentlemen. And Morpheus, also known as Lucifer, leads Neo, who is Adam, in the movie The Matrix, Morpheus appears to be a Lucifer character. Neo appears to be an Adam character. And Trinity appears to be an Eve character. And Eve leads Adam, Neo, to Lucifer, who offers him the apple of Eden, which is the red pill. And when he takes the red pill, he is illuminated, ladies and gentlemen, by the Kundalini energy, and he is now able to see the truth. Now, obviously, in the movie, they didn't show a serpent climbing up his spine and illuminating all his ganglia and nerve centers and all the blood vessels, but there was symbolic representations that his body was undergoing an energetic renewal. For instance, when he's laying on the table after he gets unplugged from the Matrix and he's basically being operated on, he has a bunch of acupuncture needles and very specific and very sacred acupuncture and acupressure points, meridian points. When the Kundalini activates, ladies and gentlemen, the Kundalini energy spits and spurts and swims energy through all of these meridian points. And when these meridian points are hyper illuminated and stimulated by the flooding of energy through them once again, you experience something known as Christ consciousness, which is nothing more than a glamorous way to explain a state of consciousness that you were designed to experience. Enlightenment is seen like this thing where it's only for a few and you have to be in a secret society and only certain people get lucky to experience enlightenment. Ladies and gentlemen, all enlightenment is your body in its true state of health, because in a true state of health, your meridians and all of these energetic vortexes and chakras, whatever you want to call them, are activated. And when that's truly happening, you're experiencing enlightenment. You're able to see the energetic grid that makes a lattice work of binding energy in this. You're able to see the substructure. You're able to see the energetic scaffolding of light and energy, fourth and fifth dimensional energy, you name it, that is woven into this material world that holds everything together. I hope that makes sense. So you see physical objects when you look out and you see this glass, when you see this rock, ladies and gentlemen. You see physical objects, but the Gnostic or the alchemist or someone who's just truly aware of the truth sees energy. Because again, all matter is merely energy. Nothing is truly material. And when you experience Christ consciousness, you are able to see that everything is just a conglomeration of different energies pretty much bouncing off one another. Atoms and molecules and quarks and electrons. It is incredible what our eyes have been programmed not to see. What our hearts have been programmed not to feel. Our metaphysical antennas have gone from their upright position and they're now completely just lumped over and not even working. And because of that, people have reached a state of we live in a shit eater, bottom feeder realm. That's what I call this world, the land of the bottom feeder. And that's true on multiple different levels, because not only is your mind down in the gutter, but your chakra system and your energetics, your meridians, your Dantian points in your cerebral spinal system, your extraordinary channels, your meridians, all of these different very sacred energy centers in your body are at their lowest potential wattage. So if you think of, that's basically like the bottom. Whereas when you experience enlightenment or you start wising up and eating healthier and breaking free from all of your addictions that are killing you, you start to stimulate more of yourself and you start to fill more of that energetic cup up, metaphorically speaking. And when your cup's full, you've attained greatness. But right now our cup's practically on empty, and that's why I call it the land of the bottom feeder. We're drinking out of the bottom of the cup, and there's not much left. There's not much left. I've got a mason jar here filled full of filtered water with just about 1/8 of a teaspoon of potassium chloride, and I've got a little bit of magnesium bisglycinate in here as well, about 1/4 of a teaspoon. So this is very diluted, not very strong, but I'm always putting things into my system, ladies and gentlemen, that can provide me benefit, that can help my wattage become even brighter or more awakened. I don't want to go through life and live this boring fucking life, excuse me, that so many people here have subscribed to. And I'm not trying to talk shit about people, but I find the average person so absolutely boring on so many levels. And for the longest time, especially after experiencing Kundalini, when I would communicate with people, they would look at me like I was absolutely insane. Like there was literally a penis growing out of my forehead. People would react to me so strangely after I experienced Kundalini. And that's because the Kundalini dissolved my ego, and they could understand this unconsciously, and I was like an anomaly in their programming. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this before, but have you ever had like a experience in your life where after that experience people just never look at you the same? And after my Kundalini experiences, I experienced so much judgment from people because I completely let go of what I was doing at the time and became kind of selfish in a way, and chose to just study the occult and go on my own path. And people didn't like that. People had a script for me, and people wanted me to follow that script. And because I stopped following that script, I agitated a response in them, and they didn't like it. So it's just, I'm not, again, trying to talk crap about people, but people bore the hell out of me. They only want to talk often about very surface dwelling things, and they never want to go deeper than the surface. Now, for some of you who might say that life's all about not judging, ladies and gentlemen, and you've just got to accept everything the way it is, you have the beast programming in you more so than anything, and you need to learn how to get rid of that. And the only way that you're going to get rid of that is by going into your mind and doing some meditating, upgrading your diet, and just, I don't know exactly how you save yourself at that point, but I would suggest some yoga and some deep breathing, some pranayama, and really contemplating whether or not that belief is helping you, because the belief system of accepting everything is a very, very pathetic viewpoint, in my opinion. And from an alchemical perspective, that viewpoint lacks two very intimate parts of the alchemical triad. Now, I shouldn't have brought that up because I don't want to get into that, but if you're interested in learning more about that, check my Patreon page out. I discuss it in detail. The alchemical triad. Just released a lengthy video about it. Human beings, to a large extent, we're creators, and when you accept everything the way it is, there's a stasis in creation. There's a stagnation in creation. The human mind and the human genetic template is an evolver, ladies and gentlemen. And by subscribing to the idea that life is just about accepting things the way that they are, that's pathetic, and that lacks evolutionary energy, and I will never be someone like that. And from my religious perspectives as a Gnostic, it completely violates and contradicts my religious morals, you name it. I am constantly looking for ways to improve things, because that's how you grow. When you stop moving, ladies and gentlemen, when you stop evolving, that's when you experience stasis in movement. That's when you experience, what's the word I'm looking for? A damming up of energy, which is basically just a fancy way of saying constipation. By accepting everything the way it is, we have turned into a constipative nation, ladies and gentlemen, on the energetic level. I think I hear someone out front walking around. Bear with me. I can't tell if Heather's home or if my neighbor's home. But anyways, folks, I mean, do you go through first grade just to go? Oh, I accept. I don't want to grow anymore. Just going to accept first grade for what it is. I don't want to go to second grade. No, we always need to move. There's always improvement. That was kind of a bad metaphor and a bad rep- excuse me. All I'm trying to say is that accepting everything the way it is in a world where the way things are is very dark and evil and backwards and causes so much suffering for so many people is pathetic. It's pathetic in my opinion. And I don't care if you have a problem with that. I don't care if you think I sound angry. I don't care if it conflicts with your New Age programming, which is what that is. I mean, what a great way to convince. If I had an enemy and I wanted that enemy to become complacent and I wanted that enemy to not fight back, I would fill my enemy's mind with a bunch of quasi-religious spiritual mumbo jumbo about how life is just about accepting everything the way it is. Just accept what's going on. Because clearly there's a lot of evil in this world that needs to be transmuted. And again, transmutation is an alchemical term for taking one thing and turning it into something better. So by default, accepting the world right now for the way it is, which is a hell realm, Earth is a hell realm, that completely contradicts and conflicts with alchemy as well, because alchemists are constantly seeking to improve not only their lives, but the world around them. The alchemist does not see completion when he sees things, he or she, because completion conflicts with evolution, and evolution or transmutation is constantly seeking to enhance itself. Things are constantly. Enhancement is how we. Excuse me. I think you catch my drift, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you do at least. But one of the greatest things for you to transmute, one of the greatest ways for you to get healthier, one of the greatest ways for you to engage in the practice of alchemy, if you're interested, is to begin with your addictions. Change your mind, change your addictions, change the things that you put into your system. Eat real food. Because addictions, ladies and gentlemen, if you let addictions go too far, it'll make your mind kind of, you'll begin to live in a, most people, let's just put it this way, who have serious addictions, who have been addicted for a long time, know they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. For instance, drinking every night and whatnot, and they constantly tell themselves, "Oh, I'm going to quit soon. I'm going to quit soon." And then you tell yourself that for days, and then days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and before you know it, it's like 5 years, and you still haven't gone a day without drinking. And when you violate that internal desire to change, you create a separation between you and your higher self, and then you just dig yourself a hole. And it can get to a point where the hole is so deep that you can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore, or coming from the top. And that's when you need to unplug from all the insanity and the nonsense, and you need to close your eyes, and you need to develop some light in your heart and just change. Stop thinking about how, it's been so long, and I'm such a fuck up, and I'm a disaster. Stop thinking about all the crazy, stupid shit that you may or may not have done if you're if you smoked cigarettes, or excuse me, especially if you're like, again, this doesn't really apply to everyone who's an addict, so this is kind of a bad place to put this, but this rant, we'll just leave it at that. All I'm saying is that with severe addictions, oftentimes people make seriously bad decisions that keep them in like this guilt process. And if you constantly focus on guilt, it makes climbing out of the hole very difficult, because guilt drives depression, and depression drives addiction, because people who have depression issues just seek things that can make them feel better, even if it's just temporary. And alcohol promises that potential escape. Drugs offer that potential escape. So I've kind of mix-mashed a bunch of stuff into this video. Um, this is kind of a course video. It's kind of, I should have done a little bit of storyboard or some, I should have thought out the direction of this video, because some of the things that I've intermixed into this rant are kind of non-relative, but that it is what it is. I'm gonna post it regardless of how bad I think this video may be. It's been a while. I want to put some content out there, and I'm not perfect. I do my best to get on this channel and to inspire people to change their lives. I do my best to inspire people to embrace the path of the alchemist, to constantly transmute his or her life for the better. Nothing is more, and it just feels great to constantly be improving yourself. So get your addictions underway, ladies and gentlemen. If you smoke cigarettes, it's time to quit. If you drink alcohol, it's time to quit. Anything that you know you shouldn't be doing, anything that drags your spirit and your soul down and anchors you in depression, it's time to let go of those things. It's time to stop fixating on how difficult it's going to be, and it's time for you to embrace the magic of your limitless mind and just make the change for the better and do what you know you need to do. Once you get your addictions managed, ladies and gentlemen, then you can have a clean slate. The problem with trying to get healthy with food and fluid and herbs and whatnot while you're chronically addicted to something, such as alcohol addiction or heroin addiction or whatever it is that you lack a clean slate. And a clean slate is needed. You wouldn't make a house on an unlevel ground. For you to make a house, construction workers need to create a flat surface so that they can lay their foundation on a surface that's level. Otherwise, the house is going to run into all sorts of issues, and it won't even pass code. It won't even pass code when there's an inspection. Build your foundation. Get that ground level. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, eat healthy while you're getting all this stuff worked out, but the main focus that people should be focusing on when it comes to health is to make sure that their addictions are in check. Otherwise, the addicted mind will eventually, you'll run into problems with it. Even if it's, excuse me. Oh man, addictive thoughts are bad too. But I'm not saying that you have to get your addictive thoughts completely under check. Or negative addictive thoughts is something that most people experience, and that's because the presence of the great Archon here in this world, the Archons, plural, have superimposed parts of their consciousness within the human collective consciousness, and because of that, we all have traits of the Archon within ourselves, so there will be some negativity in our collective mind, in our consciousness, in our thoughts. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to get your thoughts completely pure before you engage in physical health through taking care of your diet. That's nonsense, and I want to clarify the fact that that's not what I meant. When I'm talking about getting your addictions clarified, when I'm talking about getting your addictions in line before you approach health, I'm talking about like getting dangerous substances out of your diet. For the most part, get your sleep patterns in check. Get your emotions and your let's take a sip of water. I think you catch my drift, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying that if you drink alcohol that you shouldn't eat healthy. What I'm saying is that you shouldn't put so much emphasis on eating healthy that you forget to get rid of your addiction, which is killing you. And I see a lot of people doing that. A lot of people contact me. Hey, I'm an addict. I drink a lot of alcohol. Are there any herbs that I can take to deal with the poisoning? Well, that depends, because if you're just asking me for a herb so that you can continue drinking, I'm not being a very good, responsible individual in your life, am I? By encouraging you to drink? Oh, here's the antidote. Drink as much as you want. No, the antidote is to quit. Once you quit, then you start rehydrating the body with the proper fluids, the electrolytes. You get the schizandra berry back into your system, the gynostemma pentaphyllum. You start rebuilding your liver and your gut with the triple leaf tea, detox tea. You start getting better sleep. You start eating a better, fat to protein to carb ratio. There's a handful of ways that you recover from addiction, but I don't want you to think that you can just eat healthy to continue being an addict. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's 40 minutes into this video, and I'm starting to think that I'm not making much sense. I have slept fairly poorly since I got back here to Virginia with the jet lag and whatnot, and a few really late nights just completely screwed my sleep schedule. So I'm lacking sleep, but I hope that this video has inspired you in some way, whether it be to consider letting go of your addictions, whether it be considering, embracing alchemy. Check out the book by John Crider called Overcoming the Archon Through Alchemy. I think I have a copy of it laying around, actually. Actually, I don't. There's a book called Overcoming the Archon Through Alchemy, and it is a tremendous book filled full of great information that can benefit you. It teaches you how to stimulate the alchemical triad, the in polarity, the void polarity, and the output polarity through your breathing and through visualization. That is an amazing book. But yeah, you guys, this was kind of a random rant, but we kind of started off talking about, getting your addictions in check. Then I kind of dovetailed into that Kundalini and then Gnosis and whatnot. But there's a handful of things that you can do on a daily basis, folks. I am going to be making a video here in the next few days about adaptogens, which are compounds that can help us deal with stress, both emotionally and mentally. So keep an eye out for that, emotionally, mentally, and physically, Adaptogens can take a lot of the stress off of our physical body, which can in turn take a lot of stress off of our emotional and mental bodies. Everything's connected. I used to carry around a lot of tension in my shoulders, and when I started taking something known as rhodiola rosea, it started to really work on the tension in my shoulders, and it helped alleviate a lot of the stress in my shoulders. And by doing that, the lack of stress in my shoulders caused a complete de-stressing in my emotional field. So as you remove stress from your physical body, oftentimes your mind and your emotions react to that. And adaptogens, things like ashwagandha, things like bacopa monnieri, things like schizandra, things like rhodiola rosea. There's a handful of different adaptogens, things like reishi mushroom extract, folks, cordyceps mushrooms, lion's mane. These things can help our body massively, not only by taking stress off of our bodies, but adaptogens really help work on the brain and the central nervous system. And oftentimes adaptogens exert a very calming effect on the hippocampus, the pituitary, the pineal gland, the entire, our entire body. And that is incredibly important in a stressed out world where our nerves are basically constantly on edge. We weren't designed, ladies and gentlemen, to constantly be worrying and to constantly be working and to we're just constantly stressed the hell out beyond measure, and it's just a complete violation of what we were put here to experience. We were never put here to be the slaves that we have become. And what has happened in the Matrix films, ladies and gentlemen? What does Morpheus essentially break everything down into when he tells Neo? Or what is the main piece of importance that Morpheus tells Neo during the films? That he had become a slave and that he had been turned into a battery, which is symbolism for him being turned into an energy source, which is what the human beings plugged into the Matrix system had become for the system. That system was a symbolism for the great Archon. That movie is all about Gnosis and Gnosticism. Neo is someone who achieved Christ consciousness by taking the apple of Eden, which allowed Neo, aka Adam, to have knowledge of good and evil. And through the knowledge of good and evil, he was able to make decisions that had foundation in doing the right thing. You see, you can't make a good decision if you don't know what the bad decision is, folks. The knowledge of good and evil is the key to growth. Otherwise, you'll just make decisions based on a lack of, you'll make decisions on ignorance, because you'll just do things. You won't know if things are good and evil. So the whole biblical story, in my opinion, has been hijacked, and I'm going to get into discussing the Old Testament in the near future and how much blood is stained on that book. The sword of religion is stained in blood. There's so much blood on the sword of religion that it managed to seep into the steel and stain it on the inside. Religion has become a tool for mind control. Religion has become a tool for keeping your mind geared and pointed in a particular direction that is not serving you. I'm not saying all religion is bad, excuse me. I'm saying that structured, organized religion that is designed to profit for you the religion profits on your suffering. I'm going to wrap this one up, folks. I love you all. Please check out my Patreon page if you're interested in more content, and please keep an eye out for my upcoming website. I've attached links to my current website on this video, and that is not my official website. I will be launching that in the near future. And if you follow the links to my current website, which I've tethered to multiple of my other videos, it will have a hyperlink that you can click to redirect you to my new website, which will be a .com. There will be a forum and a handful of other beneficial information. There will be a complete video archive, a way for you to buy things from me if you're interested. But I hope that you benefited from this video. I brought up the whole Matrix things because the Matrix story is very Gnostic, and it ties into Gnosticism, which we touched upon in this video. We've been turned into a slave species, ladies and gentlemen, and I think most of you, if you've made it this far in this video, probably agree with me to some extent. So, embrace change, embrace growth, and do things daily for your health, and you will be surprised at the changes that occur in your life. I love you, and may peace be with you all.